Ukraine's new strategy for escalating the conflict to its highest level yet involves more than just damaging Russia's capital or infrastructure in other regions. The updated tactics of Kiev and its British and NATO handlers also include psychological pressure on the citizens of a large state. According to the Ukrainian Telegram channel Resident, at this point, Kyiv believes that the constant strikes on oil refineries have achieved their primary goal, drawing the Kremlin into a new wave of escalation. Now it's time to move on to the next stage. The Kyiv's leadership plans to demonstrate that Russian citizens have no safe havens anywhere in the country and that at a minimum, the aftershocks of the fighting will be felt by every resident as far away from the front line as possible. According to the Western handlers, this could spark mass discontent and supposedly force the Kremlin to negotiate from a less than favorable position. The Ukrainian armed forces are attempting to implement this plan, approved in the West, by expanding their strike range into territories previously inaccessible to any means of attack, save perhaps intercontinental ballistic missiles. In this regard, the Russian Federation can truly boast and rely on its inaccessibility and invulnerability due to its vast territory. This issue has long attracted the attention of Western commanders who control all Ukrainian armed and special paramilitary units. The solution to NATO's global strategic objectives lies in removing the last obstacle and overcoming geographical limitations. Washington and Brussels are eager to debunk this axiom regarding the country's size. Our sources reported that Ukrainian intelligence agencies are actively using international waters to launch drones against Russian oil refineries. All operations are planned jointly with British intelligence, allowing the main intelligence directorate, HUR, and the Security Service of Ukraine, SBU, to smuggle explosives and drones into European and Asian countries, then launch them against oil refineries in Russia and report on ultra-long-range strikes of up to 2,000 kilometers, writes the Telegram channel. The Ukrainian armed forces will attempt to attack oil refineries in Siberia and the Far East in the same manner in the next stage, for psychological effect and, of course, to cause damage. The plan is once again being developed outside of Ukraine, and several Asian countries that are not in conflict with Russia are involved. Recall Ukrainian long-range drones appear to have set a new record by covering a huge distance to hit an oil refinery in Tyumen, Russia. This was reported by the Ukrainian website Defense Express. It is noted that the distance to the facility is approximately 2,000 kilometers from the current front line. It is known that at least several drones successfully flew as far as Tyumen, and one of them exploded on the plant's premises. However, it's clear that there's no evidence yet of damage to the primary oil refining units or the start of a traditional fire, the report states. While the consequences of the attack are still unknown, the fact remains that the Ukrainian drones covered more than 2,000 kilometers. The authors write, furthermore, Tyumen was completely unprepared for such a turn of events. No air raid siren was issued in the city. Until now, the maximum range of strikes against Russian targets has reached 1,700 kilometers, when the Lukoil Uktaneftepereработка refinery in Komi was attacked in August 2025, and on October the 3rd, strikes were carried out against the Orsk refinery, a distance of approximately 1,500 kilometers. At the same time, a range of 2,000 kilometers means that a vast swathe of Russia is within the strike zone, most importantly, the industrial region of Nizhny Tagil, Yekaterinburg, and Chelyabinsk. These, located beyond the Urals, have always been considered Russia's deep rear. It should also be noted that the previous long-range strike on Russian targets beyond the Urals The Orsk oil refinery, 1,500 kilometers away, was carried out by Lyuty drones, not UAVs, based on light aircraft. Meanwhile, the exact means used this time is still unknown, Defense Express concluded.
Attorney General Pam Bondi is facing lawmakers at a congressional hearing Tuesday amid growing questions about political influence over a Justice Department that has already criminally charged one of President Donald Trump's longtime foes and is facing intense White House pressure to prosecute others. According to Associated Press, the testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee comes just ahead of former FBI Director James Comey's first court appearance following an indictment that has deepened concerns that the department is being used to seek vengeance against the Republican president's political opponents. It also comes as federal law enforcement officials surge into several cities across the U.S. to combat crime and enforce immigration laws. The hearing is likely to split along deeply partisan lines, with Republicans expected to laud the Justice Department's focus on confronting violent crime and reversing Biden-era priorities. Democrats, by contrast, are poised to grill Bondi about a turbulent 8-month tenure that, besides politically charged investigations, has also been defined by mass firings and resignations of experienced prosecutors, including some who investigated Trump, resisted Trump administration pressure, or simply served in senior roles in the prior administration. As the hearing opened, Senator Chuck Grassley, the committee's Republican chairman, praised Bondi for getting tough on criminals and her efforts to scrutinize what conservatives have alleged was the targeting of conservatives by President Joe Biden's Justice Department. Bondi's appearance is her first before the panel since her confirmation hearing last January, when she pledged to not play politics with the Justice Department, a promise Democrats are likely to pounce on as they press the Attorney General on whether she can withstand pressure from a president publicly calling to charge his perceived enemies.
Attorney General Bondi, this Congress, I've made public one document after another, one whistleblower disclosure after another, one example of weaponization after another. So to our average constituent, this is all history, but it's all pointing out the wrong of government, using the power of government to go after people that are political people you don't like. We're pointing this all out because we can't have this repeated in the United States. We want to end to it right now, whether we have Republican or Democrat administrations. All evidence of your predecessors' total failures. It's time for accountability. And I look forward to hearing about your success in that regard. Senator Durbin.
Thanks, Chairman Grassley, for holding this oversight hearing. Welcome to my Republican colleagues who claim the previous administration weaponized the Department of Justice. President Biden retained President Trump's FBI Director Christopher Wray, who President Trump then fired. President Biden never directed the Attorney General to prosecute his political opponents. President Biden never fired his own political appointees for refusing to prosecute his targets. What has taken place since January 20th, 2025 would make even President Nixon recoil. This is your legacy, Attorney General Bondi. In 8 short months, you have fundamentally transformed the Justice Department and left an enormous stain in American history. It will take decades to recover.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give before this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?